Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. A few weeks ago I asked you which of these three sets I should pick for my next Rebrickable video, and honestly the result surprised me. The Porsche 911 won by a mile and I really didn't expect that big of a gap. Second place was much closer, but in the end the Bronco took that position. So instead of picking just one alternate build, I decided to go with two, but with a little twist. The list of alternate builds for the Porsche is incredibly long. It might actually be the icon set with the most alternates on Rebrickable, with tons of different cars to choose from. The Broncos list is much shorter at the moment, but that's completely understandable since it's still a fairly new set. You left a lot of comments and suggestions, and instead of trying to pick the most popular ones, I decided to do something different and choose something unusual. I mean, Firas alone has so many amazing Porsche alternates, and of course there are plenty of other great builds as well. On the Broncos side, we already have Suzuki Samurais, a trophy truck, Unimog, even a Porsche 911 Dakar edition. But none of those are being built today. I was aiming for the most unusual alternates that are still cool and functional, so here they are. The Porsche 911 alternate is the Bat White, a white Batmobile inspired by the 1989 version, designed by Gnat.bricks. You'll probably remember him, as he already had multiple builds featured on the channel before. The other one is a front loader by mr.platinum. I was curious how the functionality would work with so few components for heavy machinery. The designer has been on Rebrickable for more than 10 years, creating some heavy machinery as well as Technic-based iconic movie vehicles like the Back to the Future DeLorean and Kid from Knight Rider. So let's start with the Batmobile. Visually, this build works extremely well. We are so used to Batman vehicles being black or very dark grey that this white version really highlights the shaping of the car. And if you compare it to the original Batmobile, it's honestly impressive what was achieved using only parts from the Porsche 911. If we take a peek underneath, you will find a studied Technic frame with a fairly hollow central section. You can also spot the universal joint and the cross axles coming from the front axle, which means that, just like the original 911, this alternate also has fully functional steering. So where is that connected? Since none of the transparent elements from the Porsche worked for the Batmobile shaping, the designer had to use some black parts for the cockpit, but the whole section is removable. Inside we get the seat, some gadgets, and even the functional steering wheel. This is clearly more about the build experience than actual play. A hand-of-God steering would have helped, but due to part limitations, that simply wasn't possible here, and to be fair, the original 911 didn't have that either. Looking at the shaping and techniques used, I really like how the rim is integrated at the rear, and how the few black slopes from the Porsche roof were used here. The wings are clipped in and are probably the least stable parts of the build, and yes, both the Targa and Turbo printed tiles are used. If you are wondering where that big windscreen element ended up, it's actually hidden right behind the seat, working as a structural component. The side sections are especially clever. They are built as separate assemblies facing outward, while the top returns to regular building orientation. I especially like that single black line running through the middle of the hood. These are alternating brackets that support both of the sideways assemblies, which is a very smart solution. The front also has some great angles. It's another slightly weaker section structurally, but you only notice that if you deliberately grab it. The iconic Batmobile nose is clearly there, and overall, this model is instantly recognizable. The instructions are priced around the average for Porsche 911 alternates. You can find cheaper and more expensive ones as well, but for such a unique and enjoyable build, I think it's absolutely worth it. Now let's move on to the second build, the Bronco front loader. And first things first, the instructions cost just €2. That is an absolute steal for high quality digital building instructions, especially for a design that is this far outside the box. Most designers went for another off-roader using the Bronco parts, but not Mr. Platinum. This is a proper front loader, and it honestly probably has more functions than the original set. The model is rear-wheel drive with a differential on the rear axle. The engine cover can be opened and even has a built-in support rod. Inside we get a V6 engine with a brick-built fan that you can see spinning through the grille. The engine is driven directly by the rear wheels through a series of gears. The rear axle itself is also movable. There are no shock absorbers here because those were needed elsewhere. The steering system is particularly interesting. We get a hand-of-God control disc on the roof and also a functional steering wheel inside the cabin. If you open the doors, you can already see parts of the mechanism, but it gets even more interesting from underneath. The steering rack is mounted sideways and the blue gear pushes it forward and backward. The front section is connected via Technic link, creating a very unusual but effective steering solution. And now the most unusual part of the entire build, the spring-operated boom and bucket. The set simply doesn't have enough gears or any actuators for a traditional mechanism, so the designer used these shock absorbers instead. Both the boom and the bucket have two stable positions and they sort of click into place. This isn't precise control like with linear actuators, it's more comparable to pneumatics, but it's incredibly clever and actually very fun to use. This was the part I was most curious about and I really like it. There are also some nice bonus details like wheel chocks attached to both sides and hitches on both ends for potential accessories. It might not be the cleanest looking alternate build ever, but it's sturdy, interesting to build and offers a lot for very little money. If you have the Bronco and want to try something completely different, this one is an easy recommendation. So folks, these were two unique alternate builds from Rebrickable today. You will find links to both instructions below. Let me know what you think about them and tell me which one you would actually build. Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.